Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and today we are going to build a star rating component in React.js. So we are going to build something like this. So this is a component where you can hover over the stars and it will highlight the your selection, and then you can click on any star and it will persist the selection, the rating selection. So I can click on the fourth one, I can hover on any of these and click on the second one. So let's get started. So here I have a dummy project, and you can also see a star icon component. So this star icon is basically the icon that we are going to use in order to build this rating component. So let me show you how that looks like. So I'm just going to use star icon, and I have to provide it a color. So for now, let's try to provide a color called maybe yellow, and see here. All right. So as you can see, right? So this is the star icon. So let's start building our star component, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new file called rating.js, and inside that let's define a simple component and name it rating. By default, just return null and export default this component so we can import it. Now let's use our star icon, right? So what we want to do is we are going to make this rating component in a way that you can pass the max rating. All right, so you can determine how much star we want to show as in there, right? You can pass in 10 or you can pass in 5. By default it will be 5, right? And yeah, so let's do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a function called render star, and that function is going to run a for loop. So if we have, like, imagine 5 max rating, so what we're going to do is we're going to run this loop 5 time and then render 5 stars. All right, so let's let I equal to let's I equal to 0, then I should be smaller than the max rating, and then I plus plus. So we are going to take a component called stars to render, and these will basically these are the react this is the array of the react components which we are going to push right now into this array, and then it's going to be rendered basically. So we're going to store all the star icon element inside the stars to render. So what we're going to do is star, stars render dot push, and we're going to push a star icon, right? Color, maybe white. So we pushed all of these star icons into stars to render, and then this function just returns stars to render. And what we're going to do is we are going to execute this function. All right, just to make it simpler for the if any anybody who is like just started on the React, we can do something like this. So it's the same thing, we're just wrapping it inside a empty component. This needs to be parenthesis instead of braces. So yeah, so what we are doing is we are taking a max rating, we are running a loop on the max rating. So if it's 5, then it's going to run 5 times 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. And then it's just going to push 5, like, 1 times it will push the star icon, then second time, then third time, fourth time, right, like this. And then we just render those stars. So let's use this rating component in our app. So we'll just go rating, hit enter, it will auto import, then max rating equal to 5. All right, let's see how that goes. So you can see 5 stars here, right? Like if I make it 10, then they will be 10. So but for now we're just going to make it 5. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's also give app, some padding from the top, so our weighting should be aligned perfectly. So maybe 200 pixels. It's too much. Let's just give it 100. All right. So this is simple, right? So now we have like these stars. Now what we're going to do is we wanted to highlight the ratings. For example, if we have 5 stars and we want to give somebody a rating of 3, then 3 stars should be highlighted. How are we going to do? So what we're going to do is we're going to define another prop called selected rating, and it should be a number. All right, so maybe 3, maybe 4. It can't be obviously more than max rating, so it always have to be uh, you know smaller than that. So what we're going to do is let I max rating I plus plus, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say, right, so for example, by default, if we remove this color, it will be black, right? No, one sec. Yeah, we have to remove this. So by default it will be black. Let's do one thing. We go in this star icon component, and this star icon component, it takes a color. So by default we'll make it white. So if we don't provide any color, then it will be white. All right, so by default it will be white now. So we haven't provided any color to the star icon component now. So what we're going to do is, if we have 3 stars as in the selected rating, so if our component gets selected rating as 3, then it should highlight 3 star, right? So what we're going to do is, for those first 3 stars, we're going to pass the color as yellow. So let's do that. So what we're going to do is selected rating color, if the index, if the index is smaller than a selected rating, then pass the color yellow, else just keep it empty. All right, so we're just going to put a comma here. So what now it's going to do is it's going to run its loop, and then it's going to check if the current index is smaller than selected rating. So let's imagine if the index is 0 and the selected rating is 3, the color should be uh, you know uh, the color should be yellow, and then for the 1 as well, then for the 2 as well, second index as well. But for the third index it shouldn't be, because it is equal to the selected rating, which we don't want to star, because which we don't want to like get like shown as selected, because the obviously the count start from 0, so 0, 1, 2 should be highlighted. So let's see if that's work. So we're going to go into the app.js, and we're going to pass the rating, not the rating, but the selected rating to 5, not 5, but 3. Let's see if that works. So as you can see, right, like 3 of them are yellow. So if I just do 2, then you will see that it's 2. And if I do like maybe 5, then you'll see the 5. If I'll do 1, then it will be 1, right? So it's simple, right? So you can provide the max rating and then the selected rating. Here, it will run through a loop on the max rating, so it will render 5 star. But in there, we put a check, if the current index is smaller than the selected rating, then color it yellow, which is what it's doing right now. All right, so that is that. But now what we want to do is we want to, hover on any of these item, and then we want to highlight them, right? Like they should be highlighted. That's first thing. The second thing is, if we click on them, it should be updated. So for example, if it's 1 and if I click on 4, the rating should become 4. If I click on 2, the rating should become 2. So let's do that. So firstly and foremost, we're going to do the click thing and then the hover thing. Hover thing is a bit tricky. So we're going to do the click thing. All right. So let's do that. So now we are going to go inside the app.js, and make this rating component a controlled component. So if you don't know what are control input or control components, you can check out my other video about the control input. But necessarily what we're going to do is make this selected rating, we will save this selected rating in the state. So whenever we update the state, this component will reflect the change, and it will update the UI according to whatever we have in the state. So I'm just going to remove this, it's not needed now. So I'm going to define the state variable. I'm just going to call it rating, then set rating equal to use state. By default, it will be 0. And let's import use state, right? All right. And this rating will be going here. Now, if I go to the Chrome, you can see that we don't have any selected rating. If I change the initial state, for example, to 4, then you will be able to see, right, that it has like 4 stars selected. So let's create a function which will update these rating which we already have, right? Set rating. So let's do that. So let's go here in the rating, and what we're going to do is we're going to define a function called set, not set, but like update ratings, something like that. And what that is going to do is whenever we click on the star icon, so on click, right, it's just going to update the star, call update rating function, uh, take the index and +1 on it. So I'm just going to explain why I do a +1 here. Let me format this thing a bit. Oh, the color should be here. Yeah. All right. Okay. So the reason I am doing a I+1 because the count start from 0. So the first element will be 0, right? So if we click on the first element, we don't want to pass 0, but we want to pass 1. So we are just going to do a +1. Then if it clicks on the second item, which index is 1, but we want to pass like 2 to the rating, right? So that's how we're going to do it. So I+1, it calls update rating. The other issue is that this on click is not going to work because we also need the star icon to kind of take care of that. So yeah, or rather than that, what we can do is we can just wrap this thing inside I don't know, span, and just use it like this. And instead of passing the on click to the star icon, we can keep the logic away from the star icon. And then in the app.js, we're going to pass the update rating, which is essentially is the set rating function. So update rating equal to set rating, and I think it should work. Let's see. If I click on, yeah, so if I click on the third one, it will set the rating to third. If I click on 5, then the 5. If I click on 2, then to 2. If I click on 1, to 1. So the click part is done. Let's move on to the hover part. So now if we hover on any of these items, the rating should update according to that, but it will save only if we click. So if we just hover over the item, the star will get highlighted but not get selected. All right, so let's do that. In order to do that, what we have to do is we have to keep that highlighted state, right? So for example, we have one state which is selected rating here, which is like what is selected right now, but we need a different state which will save the hovering state, right? So let's do that. So what we're going to do is in this component, we're going to keep a state called const highlighted rating. I think the spelling is highlighted rating, and then set highlighted rating, which will be equal to use state. It will be by default 0. All right. Now what we're going to do is this highlighted rating, right? we're going to use it inside here. So let's do one thing. So we take a variable and determine if the star is highlighted or not. So const highlighted only, like if we have a highlighted rating, right, then it should use, okay. Um, so what we can do is where to use for highlighting. So what we highlighting. So what we are going to do is, if we have highlighted rating, then we are going to use highlighted rating. Else we are just going to use selected rating. All right. So what is that? So what we are going to do is, and we are, instead of this selected rating, we are going to use array to use for highlighting. The reason we are doing this, I'm going to explain that in a moment, but let's imagine, it's 4, all right, by default, and the star and the app.js is by default 4. If you go here, it shows you 4, even if the rating is 0. And if I make it 3, then it will show you 3, even the rating is 0. And if I make the rating 5, let's say, it's still going to show you 3, because that's what we want to do. All right, so this state, it should be the it should have the highest priority, because it should be the state which we are going to update when we move over the component. So let's implement that logic, the hover logic. Maybe that will help you understand better. So on mouse over, we're going to set the state, set the highlighted state to this index plus 1, obviously, as we were doing with the rating. And on mouse leave, we are going to set the highlighted rating to 0. All right, so let's see if that works. So by default it should be 0, and by default this should be 0 as well. So let's go here, and you can see, right, on hover these are getting lighted up, and if you remove the mouse, then they are like stop being highlighted. If you click on one of them, the state will be saved in the in here. So now it will by default will show these 3 items, but as we hover on the second one, it will only show 2 items, and if I move over to 4, it will only show 4 items. But if I remove, it will only show 3, because that's the saved state. But if I go here, click on the 5th one, then it will save that state in the in the app, and then this will show 5 stars. And if I go here, click on 2, then it will only show 2 star. The reason, the logic behind all of this is that we keep a local state of the rating. So whenever we hover, we kind of update it, and we override the rating one. So we don't use the selected rating passed in the component by the app. So in that way, we are able to create this logic where wherever we go, the element gets highlighted, right? But as we leave the mouse, then it uses the selected rating one, and then everything comes to normal. And if we click on anything like 4, then it gets saved in the selected rating, so we kind of see the 4 star. So yeah, so this is the rating component. I hope you like the video. If you have any questions, anything, just let me know in the comments. And if you really like this video, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. And I see you in the next video. All right.